Welcome back, guys, to Keeping Up with the Nerds. This is Brian.
Rene.
And welcome back to another video. Short little video this time around. Topic, Star Wars Squadrons. I know that this came out like a good 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so it's a little late.
It's a little late, and we promised it in episode, or issue 3, excuse me. But we haven't had the chance to kind of be together until today. We just finished recording a podcast, so we're going to discuss it real quick, our thoughts about what we think on Star Wars Squadron. We'll start with this. What are your experiences with Star Wars games before we move on and talk about Squadrons?
So in Star Wars games, I think my first Star Wars game, I think it was pod racing on the N64.
Yeah, Star Wars Racers.
I think because I was a little kid when the first when episode 1 came out, so obviously I wanted to play any sort of Star Wars games during that time, and plus as a kid the whole pod racing thing was actually kind of cool.
Yes,
as a kid.
Yeah.
Again, I was young when episode 1 came out.
This is the one game that you wanted to like. That's like the cool concept of episode 1 of Phantom Menace.
Basically. So it was fun. I remember playing it, and it was a little wonky at first because it's pod racing. I guess this was pod racing.
So besides racers, you've had experience with?
Other than that, and then I remember I played, was it Revenge of the Sith?
Okay.
On, I think it was PlayStation or Xbox. I don't remember. It was Revenge of the Sith when that came out. So there was a big gap. Or no, and I did play a bit of Battlefront on the N64. That did come out, but not a lot. And it wasn't a game that I was like
N64 or PlayStation?
Was it PlayStation?
I think it was PlayStation. I don't think that they had an N64.
Have a game? I don't remember.
Okay, so it's been a while.
I did play Battlefront at one point, the first one.
Did you play anything more recent?
Nothing as of now. No, I did play the remake of Battlefront. The first one.
First one.
Yeah, it did come out. I did play like the beta when that came out. It was interesting. And then when the game came out, it was a little... I thought there was going to be more to it, but it was just ended up being the beta.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then I never got around to playing Battlefront 2 because I just heard it was basically a polished
version of Battlefront. Have you played Fallen Order?
No, but I have wanted to, though. I heard it was really good.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
I recommend it. So my experiences with the past Star Wars titles, I think my first one, the Racers one, I think that's everyone. I think everyone who's been a Star Wars fan has played Racers before in some form of way. So Racers, I unfortunately didn't get into the whole Jedi Academy or Knights of the Old Republic. But yeah, those are like the big ones that most Star Wars
people.
Knights
of the Republic. I heard those were good, or the Old.
Everyone
Republic,
talks about them, and they're really highly regarded. I know that with Squadrons, there's a lot of similarities to the Rogue Squadron title of the Star Wars games. Unfortunately, I never really played that.
Same here.
But I did grow up with Battlefront and Battlefront 2 in the original ones for the PlayStation 2. I kind of did a little bit of hiatus on the whole Star Wars thing. Went back when the Battlefront game came out, the newer one, and then Battlefront 2. I've put in a couple hours in there, enough to know, how that's going to work. And I've played a couple hours of the Fallen Order. I will say that the story is going in a direction that I do like. That Star Wars game is made by Respawn. Squadrons will be made by EA Motive, I think is what the developers are called. It's the same people that did Battlefront 2. So I've had a couple experiences here and there with the Star Wars franchise. But Star Wars Squadron was announced, and it hyped me up to an insane level.
The trailer,
yes,
really? And
fantastic.
The gameplay trailer as well too was actually really good. The way they did it was explaining how everything's gonna be, the game modes and stuff. It was a trailer that actually got me hyped.
I remember that because I think the way it was announced was that it was a leak a couple days before the actual announcement trailer that EA was going to have with its whole thing, and this was in its announcements with other games as well. But the 5-minute trailer, you recently just kind of rewatched it. I remember it by heart because holy crap, man.
Well, this is like X-Wings are your thing, man.
Yes, I forget lightsabers when it comes to Star Wars. Space fights are where it's at for me.
And that's another thing too, is that I'm not a big X-Wing guy when it came to Star Wars. I was always into the Jedi. I was always into lightsabers. I was always into like the fighting battles between good and evil. But this actually got me pretty hyped up.
It's good, right?
It's actually really cool. I love the whole notion of like you have to have, in order to have a full fun experience of the game, you play with it with your friends.
Yes.
You form a squad.
It literally represents Squadron.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
And that's what automatically got me appealed to it, is like I can picture me and my friends were all Star Wars fans and stuff, and we play, Rainbow Six, we play Battlefront, or Battlefield. We also play those games as well too. Anything with like that has to do with like grouping together, and playing.
So you got excited with the trailer.
I got super excited.
What do you think of the 4 classes that are that they showcased there?
That was actually really cool. I love the classes that they have because it shows that, you could it's not just like flying around shooting people and stuff. You actually get to help out your team in some ways and stuff like that. In other ways, or in just helping to get to winning and stuff. I love the support thing that they did.
The support mechanic, the way that there's like different starfighters to kind of give you a different understanding of how it works.
Support when it comes to that, because I'm more of a support kind of player when it comes to my teams and stuff. So I'm really liking that. I do like the bomber one.
The Y-wings.
Yeah, those are
the
actually
TIE
really cool.
interceptors are the bombers.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Not the the TIE bombers. TIE bombers.
Oh
yeah. So you're excited with the trailer?
Yes.
I had goosebumps the entire time. For the 5 minutes of that whole thing, I was just like, yes, this is what I want. I literally,
on your computer, just like not breathing for the next 5 minutes.
When Disneyland had the Space Mountain, Star Wars or Hyperspace Mountain. Oh my God, the entrance where they're like Red Leader or whatever. I forget how it was, but they were like giving out the leaders of each one. Holy crap, that is like the thing. So I cannot wait to get in Star Wars Squadron and be like, red leader standing by, and my friends going, blue leader standing by, yellow leader standing by, and we're just going in there, or being the Empire and fighting those TIE wings and stuff. So I'm really excited with this. I have my thoughts on it, on what do I expect with this Star Wars game.
Yeah.
But I want to hear from you because you haven't played a lot of Star Wars game, and I think that this is something that's going to be completely new for you.
Yes.
So what do you expect from Star Wars Squadron?
I expect that the whole notion of like the multiplayer thing is going to be a good experience. It's that I did not expect that was going to be the game at all. I thought it was literally going to be like a storyline where you're kind of like, or narrative in some way where you're just kind of flying around doing what we saw in the movies and stuff like that. In this one, it seems like it's just it's solely based is a multiplayer game, which I never expected they were going to do.
They're going to do a little story to it. Yeah,
there is a narrative because it seems like it does take place after Return of the Jedi, because they did mention in the trailer that it's like, the second Death Star has been destroyed, so it obviously takes place after those events and stuff.
Yeah,
which I think it's interesting because we've never really seen stories of how like the Empire, when the Empire is falling, we never get to see how like
the in between, if it is in the show, with
how basically the Empire is trying to survive and stuff.
Have we? I think Battlefront 2 might have, but I think Battlefront 2 takes place somewhere in between the first and the second Death Star. I haven't really played the story for Battlefront 2, so I have to kind of. I would probably have to go into Battlefront 2 and play the story to see how well that narrative is.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I played the Fallen Order, and the story so far that Respawn has implemented in Fallen Order is pretty good. I can understand the mechanics, and I do feel like even though with its glitches, they understand how to make a good Star Wars narrative, something that's interesting.
So where does it take place, Fallen Order?
Oh man, dude, I'd have to. After Order 66.
So it's after that.
After
years after that.
Yes, I want to say I'd have to revisit it. I haven't played it in a while, but I'm going through this whole thing where I'm trying to
it's like
revisit
after
some games.
Revenge of the Sith, between maybe New Hope and stuff.
Yes, I have to revisit it. I don't want people to take my word for it, but that's what it is. My initial thoughts on what I think of Squadrons. I'm excited for the game because, like you said, I'm a huge, starfighter person. That space, that's my thing. I would trade in a lightsaber for an X-wing and to become an X-wing pilot within a heartbeat. Poe Dameron is my favorite new character. That's all I'm going to say on that. But a couple things that I do have some concerns with in regards to Squadrons. I am a little bit nervous on the narrative it's going to take place. I really want them to explore the repercussions of the Empire and it trying to recuperate after the second Death Star explosion. It would be an interesting thing to see, but I don't really feel like EA Motive does have the capability of providing an exceptional narrative. So if we're just going to use that as like the icing on the cake, sure, by all means, let's do that. I have no problems and no quarrels with that. In regards to the multiplayer, it's a little bit weird because the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to something like that is a game like Ace Combat. I don't know if you played Ace Combat, but I've played Ace Combat all the way from 4 to the most recent 7. So I did 4, 5, I skipped 6, and the one that was in between, and 7. And I put a couple hours in each single one of them. And when it comes to the mechanics, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% professional at what I'm expecting from all this stuff, but I do expect some sort of clean clean flying mechanic to come from that.
Yeah.
And Project Aces does a really good job with Ace Combat flying mechanics. You do have to control your pitch and, you know, the angles at which you maneuver, the speed at which your plane is flying to be able to do certain maneuvers and, you know, outmaneuver your opponents if they're behind you. Like, there's all these different things. And I have a friend that can explain that a lot better, but, you know, I understand enough to know what to expect from this game.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a fair comparison to say that Project Aces Ace Combat will be anything similar to Star Wars Squadrons, because we're talking about space dogfights.
Yeah.
So the mechanics are being completely different. Yeah. But I will say that the mechanics in Battlefront 2, when it comes to flying, were not the best. I did not like them.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I would probably be afraid of, is that if it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
It is.
And it shouldn't, because from what it seemed is that it looked like you were able to pull some really good maneuvers in space. Like, there were moments, I don't know if you noticed, where the X-Wing would essentially kind of stall and be able to do a full-on, like, 180-degree turn to, like, get the person from behind. That's cool.
Yeah.
If they manage to do that and implement it well, great. That's what I want to see, you know? So I'm coming in with the whole Project Aces mentality of Ace Combat when it comes to the maneuverability, but I do want to keep an open mind, because it is really interesting that we're finally getting a full-on space dogfighting, you know, Star Wars game. To wrap it up real quick, the big thing that they kind of pushed it, and they mentioned it a lot, was that it's going to be first person. You are flying the X-Wings and the TIE fighters and everything else within a first person perspective.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, playing Ace Combat in the cockpit view, it's cool. It's just slightly annoying because the HUD is so filled and you have like a window that's kind of like this tiny. So I usually play either from the nose or from the back. And that's how I usually fly on the planes. And that's a little bit comforting. And having those different angles gives you different perspectives on how to maneuver the plane a lot easier.
Yeah. How
do you feel about the cockpit only view of Squadrons?
I think I'm not usually used to that, because when it comes to flying games, I'm used to seeing like in a third person perspective.
Even with racing or just flying?
Racing as well too.
Yeah.
But in here it looks really fun. The settings look really awesome, and it's a Star Wars game, so why not have that feeling, you know, of you actually in there and stuff. It's
and
something
the game is
I feel
full VR
like,
too.
Yes.
You can play the game in full VR.
I think that's what the whole thing is that, you know, if to get a better experience, they want you to do the whole VR thing.
Yes.
You know, which is fine, you know.
I might even get it for the PlayStation 5 if it comes out, because it comes out October, so PlayStation 4. We need a PlayStation 4 for that. Do I get it on PC and just upgrade my whole PC to a VR capable thing? I am willing to spend the money for that. First person perspective, just to wrap it up on my thoughts, I can appreciate where it's going, because like I said, this is fantastic that they're doing this. I am hyped for this game. I am so hyped. $40 for this? Are you kidding me? Like, this is a fantastic thing that, like, oh yeah, I'm day one buy for me automatically. But the fact that it's first person perspective, I don't think bothers me at all. I think there is going to be, you know what, I wouldn't say it bothers me at all completely. I would say that it bothers me slightly, because if there is no option to switch over to the third person, you might get stuck and you might not really measure, like, let's say you're flying a TIE fighter, right, through narrow ways, and you actually have to maneuver it this way. You might not be able to read it. You kind of have to imagine the body. And
basically, you have to feel what the pilot would be feeling. If anything, I kind of wish there might not be a third person perspective, so that way you can just
play it in first person. It's an interesting topic. It's an interesting idea to think that it's only first person cockpit view. The HUD looks fantastic.
It does.
I cannot wait for Squadrons. Can you wait for Squadrons?
I can't wait for Squadrons. And I'm not even into X-Wings, but I'm going to definitely, day one, I'll get it.
So that's been our thoughts on Star Wars Squadrons. It does come out in October for $40. I can't wait. You can't wait, even if you haven't been into that. But this is our video on Star Wars Squadrons. If you'd like to see more on our thoughts on certain things, I know that certain things have been coming out here and there. So if you listen to our podcasts or, you know, watch this video and want to see our perspectives and our thoughts on certain things that have been coming out, these short little 10, 15 minute, 20 minute videos, put your comments in the comment section below.
Down below.
Down wherever, you know,
Down
this
here,
is a
guys.
YouTube specific thing. We'll also be leaving the description, you know, where we can find us, our podcast on Spotify and on Podbean, as well as our socials, and Keeping Up with the Nerds socials as well. So you can, you know, find all that stuff in the description below. But yeah, that wraps up this video. Thank you guys for joining us here. This has been Keeping Up with the Nerds. My name is Brian.
Rene.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.